Minnesota were very much what we anticipated that they would be. When you look at the two wild card teams, as we were coming down the stretch, we potentially could play St. Louis or Minnesota. Both teams, I think, showed in round one that they're every bit as good as the other six teams, just somewhere along the line. In Minnesota's case, it was injuries. In St. Louis's case, they had a little bit of a tougher stretch earlier in the year, but those were really good teams. And I tip my hat to Bill Guerin, John Hines, and the Minnesota Wild. I thought that they gave us a really tough series. I think that series, I always believe in playoffs, those series make you better when you end up in a series with a really good opponent. And I think Minnesota did that for us. We're excited about moving on to the second round. We know that we're playing a team we have some familiarity with from 2 years ago with our series in 2023. They've had some changes to their team. They've got a different coach. They've got a different manager. Some of their players have changed, and yet I think that both teams know each other pretty well. It'll be a good series. I expect that it's two really good teams. It should be really good hockey. So with that, I'd open up for any questions that people have.
Start in the front with Willie.
Kelly, when you look at the first round and how Vegas progressively got better, is there and how Edmonton plays, is there any concern that to make sure that they get the Golden Knights get off on the right foot or sluggish, or are you actually pleased that the top line and everyone was getting better toward the end of the series?
Yeah, I think you pick up where you left off, and then you make adjustments as you go when the series begins. So, we did get better as the series went on. We won 3 straight games to win the series, and similarly with Edmonton, they won 4 straight games to win their series. So obviously they feel they're a better team coming out of round one than they were going in. I'd say the same about our own team.
Kelly, 2-part question. First, is there a positive to going through adversity early, being down 2-1 and finding ways to win? And the second part of that, does that help in a series where every other day is a game?
The playoffs are a great test, and everybody talks about them, and you watch them, you observe them, you have memories from other years. When you're in a playoff series, it's competitive. There's a lot on the line. The stakes are high. There's pressure on teams. There's pressure on players, and working your way through that makes you better, makes you more resilient, makes you adapt, makes you adjust, makes you improve if you're going to find a way to get through a series. Those are the things that you have to have happen, and I felt that we did that in round one, but we'll need to continue to do it. This is this is a better test. This is a team that's had great playoff success last year. Obviously, we know from the year prior to that how good their team was, so we expect a really competitive series against a good team. We'll need to continue to improve.
Sean and Jesse.
How important has William Karlsson been to setting your culture? He's been one of the guys that's been here since the beginning. You've brought a lot of other players in that have kind of had to learn the Vegas way. What has William's role in that been, and how important has it been?
Well, he's appreciated by the people in this room who see him every day, and by our fans, and certainly by the organization. But he is, consistent, zero maintenance, hardworking, intelligent, two-way player. Last year he was over 30 goals. This year he missed some time with injury, but proven playoff performer. Just tremendously valuable player in our organization, and as you mentioned, has been here since day one, knows exactly what the organization is about, what we stand for, what we want to look like, and he's a big part of that, has been from the beginning.
Jesse, then Ryan.
Any update on Pavel Dorofeyev's status going into this?
He's day-to-day. We'll see how that plays out, but he's day-to-day right now from his injury in the last series.
Of course, when you got Jack, you did your homework on what he was offensively, but defensively, in terms of playing him on the penalty kill, using him in late-game situations on that zone, what was sort of the discussion about how you get this guy into becoming a more complete forward?
Well, the skill is there, the size, the strength is there, so those things we knew when we traded for him. I think the penalty killing was a layer that was added to his game this year. He's, like every other aspect of his game, he's become very good at that as well. I think winning in 2023 took him to a whole new level in terms of what he is as a player, his place in the game, his importance to our organization. I think that's where his game just really took off, and I think that he's continued to play at that level throughout. He's one of the best players in the NHL. Great intangibles, great leadership, great work ethic. All of the things that you want your top player to be. He's those things.
Ed, Ron, Tommy.
Other than their top two players, which is obvious, did something else jump out at you when you knew this was the matchup about how it will play out?
They're healthier than they've been in a long time, so I think that's has to be factored in. I think they would tell you that their depth was a big factor in the last series against Los Angeles. Los Angeles played a shorter bench than Edmonton did, and I think Edmonton felt they got really good performances out of the rank and file, so to speak. And obviously their team is different than any team in the NHL because they've got those two players. And I know that anytime we've played them in the past, you just are never sure you've won that game until the buzzer goes at the end of the game, because that's how dangerous, how dynamic they are. I think you saw a good example of what they can do in Game 1 of the Los Angeles series, a game that LA won, but Edmonton had a furious comeback to tie the game late before LA scored the eventual game winner. But that's what you're dealing with. But for them, as that series went along, and the question got asked earlier about the adjustments and the things that have to happen in a series, they got some really good contributions from other people in their lineup.
I want to get your thoughts, Kelly, on Cal Pickard, a guy who was signed very, very early by the Knights, never played, but now has had a resurgence in his career.
Well,
how that's gone along.
he really has. A great person. I've known him for many years and spent a lot of time in the American Hockey League after he left here. Went to Toronto, was in the American League with their organization, was in the American League with Edmonton, and they had the situation where somebody's misfortune created an opportunity for Calvin, and he's made the most of it. And then it happened, I guess, last year in the playoffs in their series against Vancouver, where they made the change in series to put him in net. Wasn't for the rest of the series like it was here recently against LA, but he's a good person that's got an opportunity and taken advantage of it.
Hey Kelly, so you mentioned 2023 a couple of times. You mentioned a couple of changes that you saw in the Oilers organization in the last few years. I'm just wondering, from your vantage point, if you can expand on those changes or maybe even detail a couple of other ones that you've seen from them in the past couple of years.
Well, I was only pointing it out more so just that there's some differences, right? I mean, Jay Woodcroft was their coach when we played 2 years ago. Chris Knobloch, took over from Jay and has been their coach since. So we haven't played against the Oilers in a playoff series with him as the coach. Stan Bowman, who's a very proven NHL executive, has taken over from Ken Holland, who was a great NHL executive as well. So those are the differences in terms of off the ice. I think on the ice, they've made moves at last year's NHL trade deadline. They made moves at this NHL trade deadline that are going to have some different people in this series than what we saw the last time we played them. So, just off the top of my head, you've got Wallman, you've got Klingberg, you've got Matthias Janmark is a new player, Adam Henrique is a new player there for them. Trent Frederick is a new player. So the players have changed a little bit in both organizations since that time. For us, Thomas Hertl didn't play the last time that we played Edmonton. Noah Hannafin didn't play the last time. Brandon Saad didn't play the last time. So those, it's there's going to be lots of similarities. There's going to be lots of familiarity between the two teams, but there are some things that have changed.
Vince and Nick.
Hey Kelly, obviously you know your team front and back, but I'm curious, even at this stage, this year, one series, do you learn anything from the group from a bigger picture standpoint going through the series they went through from Minnesota? And how does that affect as someone who's always evaluating?
You definitely learn a lot watching playoff hockey. I make it, a real priority to watch, every minute of every game around the NHL at this time of year that you can, because I think you do learn a lot of things. It's different hockey in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. It goes into our team building, certainly, as we build our team. It's one of the things that we focus on, are players that we think are going to be able to do it at playoff time. I think that we saw a lot of guys in round one that did meet our expectations. It's never a straight line. You're playing good teams, and there's times where they have momentum or they win a game. There's times when you have it, you have to be able to keep an even enough keel to manage the emotions. There's a lot that goes into playoff hockey. It is a very different animal than regular season hockey, where you play a team once and then you play a different team again the next night. So the physical play, the size and strength, the depth, you just really have to have the depth at the important positions to have success at playoff time, and I think that's what we sure try to be mindful of as we build our team.
Well, Kelly, you just mentioned it right there with the depth. Jack said that everybody stepped up at different parts of the series to eliminate the Wild. Now, depth was a huge strength of the team in 2023, still is. How pleased have you been through the season and through the first round at the depth of this team?
Well, I think it's one of the strengths of our team. We've felt that all year. And, I think when you look at it, there's going to be different lines or different players that rise to the occasion at different times. Brett Howden had 2 of our game winners of our 4 games that we won in the first round. As our regular season wound down, Riley Smith, William Karlsson, Victor Olofsson were our best line. Well, they barely played together in round 1. So things change, and you have to have people that can take on different responsibilities. William Karlsson, I don't think, has played maybe more than 2 or 3 games as a left winger since year 1. So that was what was required for us to have our team look like we needed it to look, and that's what you do. So if you've got good personnel, you enable some of those things to happen. It gives the coach different looks that he can come up with when he thinks that's needed.
Anything else for Kelly today? Yeah, absolutely, Sean.
How has Bruce changed, excuse me, as a coach since you hired him?
I don't know that he has changed a great deal. I think he's more comfortable just in being year 3. I think that would be part of it. I think that for a coach, I think the relationship between the coach and the players probably gets more and more cemented or solidified with time, as opposed to year 1, for example. But he stands for the same things that he stood for as a coach of the Boston Bruins, with the reasons that we hired him, the things that we wanted him to bring to our organization. I think that's been really consistent. I think he's had some changes to staff. I think there's different things that you just have to evolve and adapt and grow with day by day. But in terms of who he is and what type of coach he is, I think very much what he was when he arrived.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the round.